It's like I'm a game show host making an entrance. How's everybody doing? Woof. What a day. What a day. Uh, got up at the crack of dawn. Got a ton of stuff done. Went to my BFF's house and took out 3 windows that we had previously put in because my buddy wanted to change something. So we did that, put the windows back in, did all the molding. And not only did we put all the molding in, but we made it, which was pretty cool. So anyways, rainy day or rainy this afternoon. And just a good busy day. And as I was logging on, my computer needed an update. Then the computer updated, and I was like, oh, I'm going to make it. And then something weird happened with YouTube. Google has been very weird lately, too. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling because I know we left off at a couple good cliffhangers. John and Sam have been arrested. Looks like Sarah set them up. Ruh-roh. And we know that a girl in Spain has died because the Mogs probably thought that that girl was Marina, right? She said that sometimes, I can't remember what teacher would confuse her and this other girl. So things are heating up. We're on we are on book 2 of I Am Number 4 series, The Power of Six. But we are on chapter 24. We're 75% of the way through the book, which is pretty awesome. So let's get rocking. Again, today's Tuesday. So I'll be honest. Let me say this now to everybody. I may not be able to read this Friday, but I should know that tomorrow. So what I may end up doing this week is I might end up doing, we did Sunday, I might do Tuesday, then Thursday, then go back to Sunday, but I still want to get another day in. So we're going to do our best. But, adjusting to the summer schedule is always a little weird. We'll get there. We shall get there. Stella is in a pretty bad mood. I don't know, bad or feisty or what it is, but I'm going to see my Viking glass here. Drink like a Viking. Drink diet ginger ale. Rrr. Yes, I'm back. I'm back to diet ginger ale. I was drinking that for a while. Then I went back to, I haven't had a real soda, though. In this December, it'll be 6 years that I haven't had a real soda. So I drink seltzer, and every once in a while I break it up with this ginger ale. But anyway, Mr. Murray, get the book. Who cares? Right? Good call. So, chapter 24. After 5 minutes, I get up off my bed and I look at the wardrobe to see if there are any clothes I want to take with us. I'm holding a black sweater when I decide I can't leave without saying goodbye to Hector. I rip another girl's jacket from the wall, one with a hood, and write a quick note to Adelina. Had to say goodbye to someone in town first. The double doors open into the chilly air, and once I see the police cars and news vans lining Calais Principal, I feel better. The Magadorians wouldn't try anything with so many witnesses. I walk through the gate with a hood over my head. The door to Hector's house is cracked open, and I knock softly on the frame. Hector? A woman answers. Hello? The door swings open, and it's Hector's mother, Carlota. Her black and gray hair is pinned carefully around her head, and her face is pink and smiling. She's wearing a beautiful red dress and a blue apron. The house smells like cake. Is Hector home, Senora Ricardo, I ask? My angel, she says. My angel has returned. She remembers what I did for her, how I cured her disease. I feel embarrassed by the way she's looking at me, but she bends down for a hug and I can't resist. My angel has returned, she says again. I'm so happy you're feeling better, Senora Ricardo. The tears that fall from her eyes are almost too much, and soon my own eyes swell with water. You're welcome, I whisper. There's a meow behind Carlota. I lean over and I see Legacy trotting towards me from the kitchen with milk dripping from its chin. He purrs against my shins and I bend down and I pet his coat. When did you get a cat? I ask. This morning he comes to my door and I think he's so sweet. I've named him Theo. It's good to see you, Theo. He's a good cat, she says, her hands now on her hips. Very hungry boy. I'm so glad you two found each other, Carlota. I'm very sorry, but I have to leave. I need to speak with Hector. Is he home? He's at the cafe, she says. The disappointment of Hector drinking so early in the morning must be evident on my face because Carlota asks, only coffee now. He's drinking only coffee. I hug her goodbye and she kisses both of my cheeks. The cafe is packed. I reach for the door, but just before I pull it open, something stops me dead in my tracks. Hector's sitting at a small table, but I notice him only in my periphery. My eyes are glued to who's sitting in the chair opposite him, the Magadorian from last night. Now he's clean shaven. His black hair has been tightened and lightened to a chestnut color, but there's no mistaking him. He's just as tall and muscular as before, just as broad shoulders, just as dark and brooding, with the same heavy brows. I don't need the killer's description to know he matches it perfectly, with or without the dyed hair or the missing mustache. I let go of the door and I step backwards. Oh, Hector, I think, how are you? My legs begin to shake and my heart pounds. As I'm sitting there watching them, Magadorian turns and sees me at the window. My flesh turns cold. The world seems to stop and I'm stuck, rooted in place, incapable of moving a muscle. The Magadorian watches me, causing Hector to turn my way as well. It's only upon seeing his face that I'm shocked into action. I stumble backwards then, turn and run. But before I've made it far, I hear the cafe door open. I turn around and the Magadorian is following me. I don't know what to do. Marina, Hector yells. Marina! 4 officers ride with me. The text is changing. The font is changing. I'm certain I could break them if I wanted to. Or I could simply unlock the cuffs with telekinesis. But the thought of Sarah empties me of the energy required for such an undertaking. She couldn't have turned me in. Please don't tell me it was her. The first drive takes 20 minutes, and I have no idea where we are. I'm pulled out and shoved into a second vehicle, which I assume is more secure, meant for longer transport. The second drive takes forever, 2 hours, maybe 3. By the time we finally stop, I again am jerked out. The sickness over what Sarah may have done has grown to the point that it's nearly unbearable. I'm guided into a building. After each turn, I have to wait for a door to be unlocked. I count 4 of them, and the air changes with each new corridor, becoming staler the farther I'm led. Finally, I'm pushed into a cell. Sit, one of them orders. I sit on a bed. The hood is removed, but the shackles remain. 4 officers exit and slam the door shut. The 2 larger ones take a seat outside my cell, while the other 2 leave. The cell is small, 10 feet by 10 feet, and contains the bed I'm sitting on, covered in yellow stains, and a metal toilet and sink. Nothing else. 3 of its 4 walls are solid concrete. There's a small window at the very top of the back wall. Despite the filthy mattress, I lie down, close my eyes, and I wait for my mind to slow down. John! Sam's voice yells out. My eyes snap open. I rush to the front of the cell, grabbing hold of the bars. Right here, I yell back. Shut up, the larger of the 2 guards yell, pointing his nightstick at me. Down the corridor, somebody yells at Sam, too. He doesn't say anything else, but at least he knows I'm close. I reach my hand through the bars of my cell and I press my palm against the flat metal surface of the lock. I close my eyes, focus my telekinesis to feel its inner workings, and yet I feel nothing other than a vibration that hurts my head the harder I concentrate. The cell is electronically controlled. I can't open it with telekinesis. Font change again. I run as fast as I can back to the orphanage. The hood ballooning with air behind me, and I gain speed. And as I gain speed, the clouds of blue sky above me melt into a bright white. I burst through the double doors and I run to the sleeping quarters. Adelina sitting on my bed, the note folded on her lap. A small suitcase sits at her feet. When she sees me, she jumps up and hugs me. You have to look at this, she says, handing me the paper. I unfold to see that it's not my note after all, but a photocopied picture. It takes me a second to realize what the picture is of. When I recognize it, my heart sinks. Someone has burned an enormous and intricate symbol into the side of the nearby mountain. With its careful lines and sharp angles, it's an exact replica of the scars around my ankle. The sheet falls from my hand and slowly falls to the ground. That was found yesterday, and the police are handing these copies out looking for information, Adelina says. We must go now. Yes, absolutely. I need to talk to you about Ella first. Adelina tilts her head. What about Ella? I want her to come with. Before I can finish my sentence, I'm rocked off my feet by a thundering crash. Adelina falls as well and slams her shoulder into the ground. There's been an explosion somewhere within the orphanage. Several girls run into the room screaming. Others ran past the doorway looking for refuge elsewhere. I hear Sister Dora yell for everyone to go to the south wing. Adelina and I get to our feet and head for the hallway. But then another explosion hits. And suddenly I can feel the cold wind. I can hear what Adelina is saying above the screams. I can't hear, but I follow her gaze to the roof, where there's now a jagged hole the size of a bus. I'm staring, and a tall man in a trench coat with long red hair walks to the edge of the hole, and he points at me. Dun, dun, dun. Chapter 24, done. Here we go. The interrogation, chapter 25. The interrogation room is warm and pitch black. I rest my head on the table in front of me, and I try not to fall asleep. But after being up all night, I can't help myself. Instantly, I feel, yikes, Stella's attacking me. I feel a vision forming, and I hear the whispers. I feel myself floating up through the darkness. Then, as if shot through a cannon, I blaze through a shadowy tunnel. Black turns to blue, blue turns to green. The whispers follow me. Growing weaker and farther down the tunnel I go. Suddenly, I'm jolted to a stop, and everything falls silent. A gust of wind appears with a bright light. Then I look down, and I realize I'm standing on a snowy peak of a mountain. The view is spectacular, with mountains stretching for miles. There's a deep green valley below me and a crystal blue lake. I'm drawn to the lake, and I begin descending when I see tiny bursts of light surrounding it. As if I'm wearing binoculars, my vision is suddenly magnified, and I see hundreds of heavily armed Magadorians shooting at 4 running figures. My anger is immediate, and colors blur as I run down the mountain. A few hundred yards from the lake, the sky growls above me with a black wall of clouds. Bolts of lightning crash into the valley, and thunder roars. I'm knocked off my feet as lightning strikes all around me, and that's when I see the glowing eye from the stare down from the clouds. 6, I yell, but the thunder drowns me out. I know it's her, but where is she doing? What is she doing here? The clouds part, and someone drops into the valley. My vision magnifies again, and I see that I was right. 6 stands furious between the advancing army of Mogs, the 2 girls, and the 2 older men. Her arms are above her head, and a steady sheet of rain falls. 6, I yell again, and a pair of hands grab my shoulders from behind. My eyes snap open, and I whip my head off the table. The lights in the interrogation room are on, and there's a tall man with a round face standing above me. He's wearing a dark suit with a badge clipped to his belt. In his hand is a white tablet. Is the white tablet, sorry. Chill out, kid. I'm Detective Will Murphy, FBI. How are you doing today? Never better, I reply, dazed by the vision. Oh, excuse me. Who was 6? Protecting. Good, he says. The detective sits, a pen and a legal pad in front of him. He carefully displays the tablet on the left side of the table. So, he begins, slowly drawing it out. 6 what? What do you have 6 of? What? You were yelling the number 6 in your sleep. You want to tell me what that's all about? It's my golf handicap, I say. My mind tries to conjure up faces of the 2 girls behind 6 in the valley, but they're fuzzy. Detective Murphy chuckles. Yeah, right. How about you and me have a little chat? Let's start with the birth certificate you gave at Paradise High. It's counterfeit, John Smith. In fact, we can't find a single thing about you prior to you showing up in Paradise. Oh, excuse me, several months ago. He says as he's squinting, though expecting some reply. Your social security number belongs to a dead man in Florida. Was there a question there, I say? His grin turns into a smirk. Why don't you start by telling me your real name? John Smith. Right, he says. What's your father? Where's your father, John? He's dead. How convenient. Actually, it's probably the most inconvenient thing that have ever happened to me up until now. The detective writes something on the notepad. Where are you originally from? The planet Lorien, 300 million miles away, I say. Must have been a long trip, John Smith. Took almost a year. Next time, I'm bringing a book. He drops his pencil on the table, interlocks his fingers behind his head, and he leans back. Then he pushes forward again, and he holds up the tablet. You want to tell me what this thing is? Actually, I'm hoping you could tell me. We found it in the woods. He holds it by the edge and he whistles. You found this in the woods. Where at in the woods? Near a tree. Are you going to be a wise ass with every question? Well, that depends, detective. Are you working for them? He sets the tablet back on the table. Am I working for who? The Morlocks, I say. The first thing I remember from English class. Detective Murphy smiles. You can smile, but they'll probably be here soon, I say. The Morlocks, he answers. What book? You guys better know the book. Yes, sir. Like from The Time Machine, the book The Time Machine. That's the one. That's like our Bible. And let me guess, you and your friend Samuel Goody, you're members of the Eloi? The Loric, actually, but for our purposes today, the Eloi will be fine. The detective reaches into his pocket and he slams my dagger on the table. I stare at it. Its 4-inch diamond blade, as if I've never seen it before. I could easily kill this man by just moving my eyes from the table to his neck, but I need to free Sam first. What's this for, John? Why would you need a knife like this? I don't know what knives like that are for, sir. Whittling? He picks up his notepad and pencil. Why don't you tell me what happened in Tennessee? Never been, I say. I hear it's a nice place, though. Maybe I'll visit when I'm out of here. Take a tour, see the sights. Any suggestions? He nods. He tosses the notepad onto the table. Then he launches the pencil at me. I deflect it without lifting a finger, sending it bouncing against the wall. But the detective doesn't notice. He leaves through the steel door with the tablet and my dagger. Soon I'm shoved back into my old cell. I have to get out of here. Sam! I yell. The guard who's been sitting outside my cell jumps off his chair and he swings the nightstick at my fingers. I let go of the bars just before they're crushed. Shut up, he orders, pointing his nightstick at me. Whoa. Oh, you think I'm afraid of you, I ask? Getting him inside my cell sounds like a good option. I could give a damn, Pee-wee, but if you keep it up, you're going to regret it real fast. You couldn't hit me if you tried. I'm too quick and you're too fat. The guard chuckles. Why don't you just sit back on your bed and shut your mouth, huh? You know, I can kill you any time I want, right? Without even lifting a finger. Oh, yeah, he replies. The guard steps forward. His breath smells rancid, like stale coffee. What's stopping you then? Apathy and a broken heart, I say. Both of those will go away eventually, though, and that's when I'll just get up and leave. I can hardly wait, Houdini, he says. I'm extremely close to taunting him inside, and as soon as he unlocks the door, Sam and I are as good as free. You know who you look like, I ask? Tell me, he says. I turn around and I bend over. That's it, punk. The guard reaches for a control panel on the wall, and he's stomping towards the door of my cell. An ear-splitting blast rattles the entire jail. The guard stumbles into the bars and smacks his forehead, falling to his knees. I drop and instinctively roll behind the bed. Pandemonium erupts. Yells, gunshots, clanking metal, loud bangs, an alarm goes off, and a blue light flashes in the corridor. I roll onto my back and I twist my hands to get a firm grip on the chain binding my wrists. While using my legs as leverage, I strengthen myself and I snap the chain binding my hands to my feet into two. I use telekinesis to unlock my cuffs, and I drop them to the floor. I do the same with the pair around my ankles. John, Sam yells from down the hall. I crawl to the front of the cell. Right here! What's going on? I was going to ask you the same thing, I yell back. Other prisoners shout through their cell bars, too. The guard who fell in front of my cell grunts and struggles to his feet. Blood flows from a gash on his head. The ground shakes again. It's more violent and lasts longer than the first time. And a fog of dust barrels down the corridor from the right. I'm temporarily blinded, but I reach my hand through the bars and yell to the guard. Let me out of here. Hey, how'd you get your cuffs off, he says. I see he's disoriented, wavering a few steps to his right and a few to his left, ignoring the other guards who run by him with guns drawn. He's covered in dust. 1,000 gunshots come from the right end of the corridor. A roar of a beast answers them. John, Sam screams in a pitch I've never heard him yell before. I make eye contact with the guard and yell, we're all going to die in here if you don't let me out. The guard looks toward the roars, and terror spreads across his face. He slowly reaches for his gun, but before he can touch the grip, it floats away from him. I know that trick. I saw it in Florida on the Midnight Walk, and I watch the guard as the guard spins in confusion and runs. Six becomes visible in front of my door. The large pendant still around her neck. From the second I see her face, I know she's pissed at me. I also see that she's in a very big hurry to get me out of here. What's down there, Six? Is Sam okay? I can't see anything. She looks down the corridor and concentrates on something, and a set of keys comes floating down the corridor right into her hands. She inserts them into the metal panel on the wall. My door unlocks. I run out of my cell, and I'm finally able to see down the corridor. It's extremely long, with at least 40 cells between me and the exit. But the exit is gone. As in the wall, it should be on. And I'm staring at a giant horned head of a python. 2 guards are in his mouth, and drool mixed with blood falls from its razor-sharp teeth. Sam, I yell, but he doesn't answer. I turn to Six. Sam's down there. She disappears before my eyes, and 5 seconds later, I watch another cell slide open. Sam rushes towards me. Okay, Six, let's trash this thing. Inches from my nose, Six's face appears. We're not fighting the python, not here. Are you kidding me, I ask? There's more important stuff than we have to do, John, she barks. We have to get to Spain immediately. Now? Now. Six grabs my hand and pulls me after her until I'm running at a full clip. Sam is right behind me, and we're able to get through 2 sets of doors without Six's keys. Or with Six's key, sorry. As the second one is flung open, we're faced with 7 Mogs running with cylindrical cannon-like tubes and swords. Instinctively, I reach for my dagger, but it's not there. Six lowers her head in concentration. The lead Mog is spun around, and his sword slices the 2 behind him, turning them to ash. Six then kicks the Mog in the back and falls on his own sword. She's invisible before he dies. Sam and I duck the first tube's blast. The second one singes the collar of my shirt. I shoot, emptying the pistol I took from the officer. And I slide into the piles of ash. I kill one Mog, and then I pick up his drop tube. Hundreds of lights spark to life the second my finger finds the trigger. A green beam cuts through another Mog. I aim for the last 2, but 6 has already appeared behind them, lifting both to the ceiling with telekinesis. She slams them against the ground in front of me, then back to the ceiling, and then back to the ground. My jeans are covered in their ash. 6 unlocks another door, and we enter a large room with dozens of cubicles on fire. Holes smolder in the ceiling, and Mogs are shooting at police. The police are firing back. 6 wrestles a sword away from the nearest Mog and cuts off his arm. Then she jumps over a burning cubicle wall. I blast the stumbling one-armed Mog in the back with the tube, and he falls into a black heap of ash. I see an unconscious Detective Murphy on the ground. 6 darts through the maze of cubicles, swinging her sword so fast it blurs. Mogs turn to ash all around her. Police retreat through the door on the far left, and 6 slices through a circle of Mogs, closing in on her. I shoot and shoot, destroying those on the perimeter. When the room is clear, we run down an empty hallway under a shower of sparks. There, Sam points to a giant hole leading out into a parking lot. We don't hesitate, each one of us jumping through sparks and smoke. Before I sprint into the cold morning, I see my dagger and tablet sitting on the desk in the office. I reach over and I scoop them up, and seconds later, I'm following 6 and Sam into a deep ditch that provides us plenty of cover. Whoa. Change in font again. We're not going to talk about this right. Oh, it's not. Wait a minute. Oh, it's not a change in font. Sorry. We're not going to talk about this right now, 6 says, her arms pumping fast. She's dropped the sword a mile back, and I toss the Mog tube under a bush. But you know you have it, though. John, not right now. But you do. 6 comes to an abrupt halt. John, you want to know where your chest is? In the trunk of the car. I ask with my eyebrows raised in an apology. Nope, she says, try again. Hidden in the dumpster? 6 lifts her arms above her head, and a giant gust of wind sends me flying until I hit a massive oak tree. She marches over to me, fists at her side. How is she? Who, I ask. Your girlfriend, you asshole. Was it worth it? Was it worth leaving me surrounded by Mogs, fighting to get your chest back to see your precious little Sarah? Was it worth getting arrested for? Did you get enough kisses to make up for getting your face slapped all over the news again? No, I mumble. I think Sarah turned us in. I think so too, she says. Snitches get stitches. And you, 6 spins around to raise her finger to Sam. You went along with it. I thought you were smarter than that, Sam. You're supposed to be some kind of genius, and you think it's a good idea to go to one place in the whole world that the police would definitely be watching. I've never called myself a genius, Sam says, picking up the tablet I dropped, brushing dirt from it. 6 keeps walking. And 6, I had no choice. Seriously, I tried as hard as I could to get John back to look for help. Stella is biting me. Stop. Hey. Stella. She is in one heck of a mood today. Oh, I could get John to go back and look for you and help. He did, I muttered, standing. Don't blame Sam. Well, John, while you two lovebirds were hugging and kissing, I was getting my ass kicked, doing you a favor. I would have died if Bernie Kosar didn't grow into a giant elephant bear animal and help. They have your chest, and I'm sure by this point it's sitting next to mine in the cave in West Virginia. Then that's where I'm going, I say. No, we're going to Spain today. No, we're not, I shout, brushing off my sleeves. Not until I have my chest back. Well, I'm going to Spain, Six says. Why now? Sam asks. Our SUV comes into view. I was just online. It's serious over there. Somebody burned a huge symbol into the mountainside over Santa Teresa, and it looks exactly like the brands around our ankles. Someone needs our help, and I'm going. We hop into the car, and Six drives slowly down the road. Sam and I hide in the footwells of the back seat. Bernie Kosar barks from the passenger seat, happy to be riding shotgun for a change. Sam and I pass the laptop back and forth, both of us reading the article about Santa Teresa three times. The burning symbol on the mountain is no doubt Lorik. What if it's a trap, I ask? My chest is more important right now. It might be selfish, but before I leave the continent, I want my inheritance. The possibility that the Mogs might open my chest is just as urgent to me as whatever is going on in Spain. I need to know how to get to the cave, I say. John, get real. You're really not going to come with me to Spain, Six asks? After reading at all that, you're going to let me and Sam go alone? Guys, get this. Also, out of Santa Teresa, there's a woman reported to have been cured out of the blue of an incurable degenerative disease. Santa Teresa is like an epicenter for activity right now. I bet every member of the guard are on their way there, Sam says. If that's the case, I say, then I'm definitely not going. I'm getting my chest back. That's insane, Six says. I scramble over the passenger seat and I open up the glove compartment. My fingers find the stone I'm looking for, and I drop it in Six's lap before hiding the footwell again. She lifts the pale yellow stone above the wheel, turning it over in the sunlight, and laughs. You had the Zitherus out? I figured it might come in handy, I say. These don't last long, remember, she says. How long? An hour? Maybe a little more? The news is discouraging, but it could really give the advantage I need. Can you please read it? When Six holds... Oh, I'm sorry. Can you please charge it? When Six holds the Zitharus to her temple, I know she's agreed to let me go after the chest while she heads to Spain. Ooh. How are we doing? Let's see how we're doing on time. We're doing okay on time. Let me wet my whistle. Maybe we'll read a little bit more here. Not a lot in this day in history. A couple goofy things. But we'll take a look at them. So yeah, why don't we read a little bit more? Chapter 20. We're cruising. Chapter 26. I think if I remember correctly, in book 1, towards the end of the book, it kind of did this too. It kind of went, things seemed to speed up and the chapters got a little shorter, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the next few chapters are like bing, bang, boom. They're like 7-8 pages. I'm not reading more than one more chapter tonight because I got to get up early. But I will. We'll try to knock one more chapter. We'll try to do one more quick chapter. Now the font has changed. I do it without even thinking. The second the man points at me from the edge of the hole in the roof, I send 2 metal bed frames rocketing towards him. The second one is a direct hit. He falls forward and into the sleeping quarters. When he hits the stone floor, to my amazement, he turns into a pile of ash. Run! Adelena screams. We crash into the hallway, pushing against the flow of the other girls and the sisters heading to the south wing for safety. I take hold of Adelena's hand and I guide us to the nave and down the center aisle. Where are we going? Adelena yells. We're not leaving without the chest. Another explosion hits the foundation of the orphanage, and my hips crash into a pew. I'll be right back, I whisper, releasing her hand, floating towards the nook. She tells us we're close to Washington D.C., and that makes sense. Excuse me, this is a font change. I'm considered an armed and dangerous terrorist. No wonder I was taken to the nation's capital for questioning. There's a flight leaving Dulles International in less than an hour, she says, turning the wheel. I'm getting on that plane. Sam, are you with me or are you with John? Sam places his forehead on the back seat and he closes his eyes. Sam, Six asks. I'm thinking, he says. After a minute, he raises his head and he looks at me. I'm going with John. I mouth, thank you. It'll be easier for me to get there alone anyway, Six says, but she sounds hurt. You'll be fighting with more experienced guard members, I reassure her. Plus, it's probably going to take two of us to get the chests out of there. Bernie Kosar barks from the front seat. Yes, buddy, I say. You're part of this team, too. The chest is gone. Oh, another font change. My entire body sweats with panic. I almost vomit. Did the Magadorians know it was up there the whole time? Why did they trap me in here when they had the chance? I float back into the nave floor. It's gone, Adelena, I whisper. The chest? It's gone. I hug her and I bury my face in her shoulder. She pulls something up and over my head. It's a pale blue, almost transparent amulet attached to a beige cord. She carefully slips it over my hair until the amulet touches my neck. It's both cold and warm at the same time against my skin. Then it glows brightly. My breath is taken away. What is this? I ask, covering the glow with my hands. Laurelite. Laurel light. The most powerful gem on Lorien. Found only at its core, she whispers. I've hidden it this whole time. It's yours, and there's no use in hiding it any longer. They know who you are, with or without the amulet. I never forgive myself for not training you properly. No, I'm sorry, Marina. It's okay, I say, feeling tears well up behind my eyes. All these years, this was all I wanted from her. Understanding, companionship, the acknowledgement of shared secrets. Change in font. We get closer to the airport, and the fear of splitting up weighs heavily on us. Sam tries to distract himself by studying the papers Six took from his dad's office. I wish I could spread these out in some library reference section. After West Virginia, I say, I promise. Six gives me and Sam careful instructions on how to find the map that'll take us to the cave. The rest of the trip passes in silence. We pull into a McDonald's parking lot a mile from Dulles. There are three things you guys have to know. I sigh. Why do I have the feeling that none of these things are going to be good? She ignores me and she writes something on the back of a receipt. First, here's the address that I'll be at in exactly 2 weeks at 5 p.m. Meet me there. If I'm not there, or if for some reason you aren't, then return in another week and I'll do the same. If one of us doesn't make it after the second week, then I think we can assume the other isn't coming. She hands it to Sam, who reads it and shoves it into his jeans pocket. 2 weeks, 5 p.m., I say, got it. The second thing, Bernie Kosar can't go into the cave with you. Why not? Because it'll kill him. I don't understand it completely. The Magadorians control their beasts by flittering some sort of gas through the cave that only affects animals. If one leaves its designated place, it drops dead. When I finally got out, there was a heap of dead animals right on the cave's entrance. Animals that had gotten too close. Gross, Sam says. And the last thing. Their cave is equipped with every detection device you can think of. Cameras, motion detectors, body temperature gauges, infrared, everything. The Zictharis will allow you to get past everything. But once it's out of juice, look out, because they are going to find you. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Font change. Here we go. Where do you go? I ask, I don't know if you guys can see that there's a little symbol. And then see that symbol right there? And then there's like the little chapter or a little mini chapter in the chapter. And that's where the font break or the font change happens. Where do we go? I ask Adelina. Now that the chest is gone, I feel directionless, even with the amulet around my neck. We go to the belfry. You can use your telekinesis to get us to the yard. Then we run. I take her hand and start running when a ball of fire suddenly roars from the back of the nave. The fire takes hold of the back of the pews and rages toward the high ceiling. The nave is now brighter than it is during Sunday Mass. A man in a trench coat with a long blonde hair walks confidently out of the northern hallway, our path to freedom. Every muscle in my body seems to come unwound at the same time. Every inch of my skin breaks out with goosebumps. He stands watching us, the flames attacking several more rows of pews. Then a sneer slowly breaks across his face. From the corner of my eye, I see Adelina reach out into her dress and remove something, but I can't tell what it is. She stands beside me, her eyes aimed at the back of the nave. Then, ever so gently, she reaches up and pushes me behind her. I can make up for lost time or for the wrongs that I've done, she says, but I'm certainly going to try. I won't let them catch you. Just then, the Mogadorian comes charging towards us, right down the center aisle. He's far larger than he looked from a distance. He lifts a long sword that glows a fluorescent green. Get as far from here as you can, Adelina says without turning. Be brave, Marina. Wow. 6 places the Sarith into the console's cup holder, then slides out of the SUV. I'm running late, she says as she closes the door. Sam and I both exit the vehicle after carefully studying the parking lot, the other cars, the people milling about. I round the front of the hood and I watch as Six hugs Sam. Kick some ass over there, he says. They separate and she says, Sam, thank you for helping us, even if you didn't have to. Thank you for being so amazing. You're amazing, he whispers. Thanks for letting me tag along. To my surprise and Sam's, Six steps forward and kisses him on the cheek. They smile at each other. And once Sam sees me over Six's shoulder, he blushes and he opens the driver's door and climbs inside. I don't want her to go, as much as it pains me to admit it. I know I might never see her again. She looks at me with a certain tenderness, and I'm not sure I've ever seen this from her before. I like you, John. For the past few weeks, I've tried convincing myself that I don't, especially because of Sarah and how much of an idiot you can be. But I do. I do like you. The words knock me over. I hesitate, then say, I like you too. Do you still love Sarah, she asks. I nod. She deserves the truth. I do, but it's all really confusing. She may have turned me in, and she may never want to see me again because I told her I thought you were pretty. But Henry once said that the lark fall in love once in their life, and so that means I will always love Sarah. Six shakes her head. Don't take offense at what I'm about to say, but Katerina never told me that. In fact, she told me stories about multiple loves she had on Lorien over the years. I'm sure Henry was a great man, and there's no doubt that he loved you with everything he had. But it sounds, the cat just bit. Why are you biting me? He just bit my leg. I'm sure Henry was a great man, and there's no doubt that he loved you with everything he had. But it sounds like he was romantic and wanted you to follow in his footsteps. If he had one true love, then he wanted you to have one true love too. I'm silent, taking in her theory and pushing Henry's to the side. Sam can tell I'm struggling with her words. What I'm saying is, when the Lord fall in love, a lot of times it's for life. Obviously, it was for Henry, but not always. And with that last sentence, Six steps towards me, and I step towards her. The kiss that eluded us at the end of the walk in Florida now connects us with a passion I thought I'd reserved for Sarah and Sarah alone. I never wanted this kiss to end, but Sam turns on the engine and we separate. Sam likes you too, you know, I say. And I like Sam. I cock my head. But you just said you like me. She pushes me on my shoulder. You like me and Sarah. I like you and Sam. Deal with it. What? Don't hate the player, hate the game, son. She turns invisible, but I can sense she's still in front of me. Please be careful over there, Six. I wish we could all stay together. Her voice comes out of the air. Me too, John. But whoever is in Spain needs help. Can't you feel it? I can tell she's already gone by the time I say yes. Oh my God, there's a page and a half. Yeah. Okay, we got to finish the chapter. Good call. Good call, Stella. Change in font. I try to move, but I'm rooted in place. A glint of light in Adelena's hand catches my gaze, and I realize that what she removed from the dress was a kitchen knife. She runs towards the Mog. I start running down a pew the other way. With precision I've never seen before from her, she drops to the ground as the Mog leaps and swings his sword for her throat. He misses her entirely, and she comes back, catches him flush with the knife's blade across his right thigh. Dark blood spurts out, but it does little to slow the Mogadorian down. He turns and he brings the sword back down. Adelena rolls forward, and it's with nothing short of awe that I watch her pass the knife across the Mogadorian's other leg as the momentum pushes her to her feet. How can I leave Adelena alone to fight? I stop running. I clench my hands into fists. But before I can do anything, the man's left hand is wrapped around Adelena's throat, lifting her off the ground. His right hand drives the sword through her heart. No! I yell, kind of like Stella biting me. Jumping on top of the pew's bench, rushing down the wood towards them. Adelena's eyes shut, and with her very last breath, she thrusts her arm up, and the knife's blade cuts an arc in the air in front of her. It falls from her hand and clatters to the floor. For a second, I think she's missed, but I'm wrong. The cut was made so cleanly that 2 full seconds pass before the dark blood spills out. He drops Adelena and falls to his knees, both hands clenched on the front of his throat to stop the bleeding. But the blood simply cascades through his fingers. I walk towards and I take a deep breath. I raise my hand and I lift Adelena's knife from the floor. I let it hover for a brief moment. And just as his eyes widen at the sight of it, I plunge it into his chest. He disintegrates before my eyes, his body turning to ash and spreading across the floor. I drop to my knees and I take Adelena's lifeless body into my arms, cupping the back of her head and pulling her to me. Our cheeks touch and I begin to cry. She's gone, and regardless of my recent discovered legacy, I know there isn't anything I can do to bring her back. I need help. Dun, dun, dun. Awesome book. Sad, but awesome. We are rocking and rolling, my friends. So we are going to start, next time we read, we're going to start chapter 27. And I think that means we have 5. That means we only have 6 chapters left. What? Isn't that awesome? Right? Isn't that really awesome? So, a couple things for this day in history. Again, not anything super exciting. On this day in 1976, and boy, am I jumping way ahead, jumping through our history. Oh, what was the other one? I memorized them. Damn it, now I forgot the date. I think the first one was 18. The first one was 1876. The second one was 1976. 1876, the Battle of Little Bighorn. So even though all the soldiers there that remained died, some wounded soldiers did get away. And they were taken away on a steamboat. So, as our country moved west, right, westward expansion, so did technology, right? Technology moved west too. And steamboats were well utilized in the Civil War and now utilized even farther out west. And then that was the other thing. In 1976, this guy, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but I believe it's Mikhail Brezhnev escapes from the Soviet Union. He defects. And he was a world-class ballet dancer. And he leaves the Soviet Union. And in the 1980s, as a matter of fact, I think it's about 10 years later, there is a movie about his defection. And the Gregory Hines, I think that's the name of the guy, who was a musician and tap dancer. They made a movie about it called White Nights. Actually a pretty cool movie. But, the 80s, a lot of these movies came out about how kind of ridiculous the Cold War had become, the amount of money we were spending, how just absolutely nonsensical the whole thing was. And so, this movie started to show, I think, Americans that, hey, maybe, these Soviets are very similar to us. They're not these, gosh darn awful people. And they just want to live and love and have a family and work just like us. So, but I remember seeing that movie and thinking, like, wow, this is pretty intense stuff, what people did. And a lot of people risked their lives and tried to defect and leave the Soviet Union. And a lot of people that did get here, gave us information. We even know during the 70s that life in the Soviet Union was very difficult. The Soviet Union had a very difficult time feeding its own population, poured a lot of money into nuclear weapons and their military, and not a lot into their civilian population. So inside the Soviet Union, a lot of people had started to really lose faith in communism and that type of, or I should say that way of life. So, but anyways, my friends, wow, 3 chapters, awesome reading. The book is incredible. We're going to get back to it either Thursday or Friday night. I'll post on Classroom and I'll let you guys know. But, other than that, be good. I hope if you guys have summer jobs, you're getting to do a little work, you're earning and burning a little bit. And I hope you're just getting out. I hope you're getting out, even if you're still kind of quarantined. Go on the back porch or go in the backyard, bring a chair, just kind of sit and relax. I think tomorrow the weather's supposed to get a little bit better. And then by like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, things are going to be looking real good. So, so that's good. Hopefully we'll have a night. I don't think it's, I know the fireworks down at the plaza are canceled, but I don't know, there are county fireworks out here. I don't know if they've been canceled and what's going on, but, hopefully you get to celebrate somehow, whether socially distancing or not. But be good, everybody. Keep running that marathon. No reason to sprint. And I'll see everybody really soon. Have a good one.